Admiral Lee's fingers drummed against the cool metal railing as he stared at the massive holographic display filling the command center of Earth's Pacific Defense Station. The blue glow of the screens cast eerie shadows across his weathered face. Something wasn't right about the readings, and after 30 years in the service, he had learned to trust his instincts. The quantum sensors were picking up distortions in high orbit, not just one or two, but dozens of them. They weren't meteors or space debris. These anomalies moved with purpose, maintaining perfect formation as they positioned themselves above major population centers. Admiral, Captain Kim burst through the sliding doors, his usually immaculate uniform slightly disheveled. He clutched a tablet displaying streams of data from monitoring stations worldwide. Beijing, Moscow, and Washington are all reporting the same thing. We've got multiple bogies in orbit, sir. They're running silent. No heat signatures, no radio emissions, nothing on conventional radar. Lee straightened his back, eyes narrowing as he studied the tactical display. How many? At least 30 vessels, maybe more. They're using some kind of advanced cloaking technology we've never seen before. But here's the strange part, sir. Our quantum sensors are cutting right through it. We can see their positions clear as day. The Admiral's mind raced through the implications. No human nation possessed technology like this. Which meant, sir, Communications Officer Park's voice cut through his thoughts. Her console had erupted in a cascade of flashing alerts. We're picking up a transmission from one of the vessels. The signal structure, it's like nothing in our databases. Definitely not human in origin. Lee took a deep breath, steadying himself. First contact. After all humanity's searching, they had finally come to us. But something about this approach felt wrong. Why try to hide? Why position themselves over population centers? Put it on speakers, he ordered. The command center filled with a series of rhythmic clicks and whistles, overlaid with harmonic tones that made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. The universal translator programs were already running, trying to decode the alien language. Send them a response on all frequencies, Lee commanded. Standard first contact package. Let them know we can see them and request their intentions. High above Earth's atmosphere, Grand Admiral Du stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship, his four-fingered hands clenched into fists. The massive view screen showed the blue-green planet below, supposedly primitive and ripe for integration into the Empire. But something had gone terribly wrong. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation that made his bridge crew nervous. In 12,000 years of Imperial expansion, this had never happened. The cloaking technology that made their ships invisible to all known forms of detection was the cornerstone of Imperial military doctrine. It had allowed them to conquer thousands of worlds, appearing seemingly from nowhere to demand submission. Impossible, he chittered. Their technology level is centuries behind ours. They shouldn't even be able to detect quantum displacement fields. My lord, his sensor officer interrupted. They're not just detecting us. They're tracking our exact positions. And they're hailing us on multiple frequencies. Du's compound eyes widened. The humans weren't just seeing through their most advanced stealth systems. They were actively attempting communication. Everything about this situation violated Imperial doctrine. Back on Earth, Lee watched as more data poured in. The alien vessels were massive, each one nearly a kilometer long. Their design was organic, almost insectoid, with sweeping curves and segments that seemed to flow into each other. Despite their size, they should have been completely invisible to human detection. Sir, Captain Kim said quietly, if they meant this to be a surprise inspection or show of force, then we've just ruined their dramatic entrance, Lee finished, allowing himself a small smile. Open a channel to the Joint Chiefs. They need to know we have visitors, and that their invisibility trick isn't working as planned. The implications were staggering. If these aliens relied on their cloaking technology for military superiority, humanity's apparent immunity to it changed everything. They weren't coming as gods descending from the heavens. They were exposed, visible, and suddenly much more vulnerable than they had planned to be. As the first official response from Earth began transmitting toward the alien fleet, Lee couldn't help but wonder how they would react. Would they respond peacefully, now that their advantage of surprise was lost? Or would this lead to something darker? Above, Grand Admiral Du received the human transmission, his agitation growing with each passing moment. The Empire's carefully crafted plans for this sector's assimilation were falling apart before they even began. For the first time in his long career, he found himself facing a species that could see through their greatest advantage. Du knew this changed everything. The Empire's strategy of invisible observation and sudden overwhelming force wouldn't work here. These humans, with their inexplicable ability to detect Imperial ships, had just become the greatest threat to Imperial expansion in thousands of years. As both sides waited for their next move, the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. Humanity's first contact with alien life had begun, not with a whimper, but with the equivalent of catching someone trying to sneak into your house in broad daylight. What neither side yet realized was that this moment would change the course of galactic history forever. Dr. Han's eyes burned from staring at the streams of data flooding across her laboratory screens. She had been awake for nearly 48 hours, fueled by coffee and the excitement of the greatest scientific discovery in human history. The numbers and patterns dancing before her told an incredible story, one that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. She reached for her coffee cup, found it empty, and sighed. Around her, the advanced research facility hummed with activity as dozens of scientists worked to understand the alien technology that had appeared in Earth's orbit just days ago. Dr. Han, one of her junior researchers, burst into the lab, waving a tablet. "The new sensor readings are in from the orbital platforms. You need to see this." She took the tablet, and her tired eyes widened. The data confirmed her theory. Human neural structures were uniquely adapted to perceive quantum displacement fields. What the Empire considered perfect invisibility was anything but perfect to human senses. "Get Commander Song," she ordered, "and contact the United Earth Council. They need to hear this immediately." 2 hours later, Dr. Han stood before the assembled council in their underground chamber. The room was packed with military leaders, scientists, and government officials from every major nation. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. "The Empire's cloaking technology is remarkably sophisticated," she began, bringing up a holographic display of an Imperial ship's energy signature. "They bend space-time around their vessels using quantum displacement fields. To most species, this makes their ships completely undetectable." She paused, letting that sink in. But human eyes evolved under unique conditions on Earth. Our planet's magnetic field, combined with our sun's particular radiation spectrum, led to the development of specialized proteins in our retinas. These proteins can detect quantum-level disturbances that the Empire assumed were impossible for organic life to perceive. Commander Song stepped forward, his military uniform crisp despite the late hour. "We've confirmed this across multiple test subjects. Humans don't just vaguely sense their ships. We can track them with perfect accuracy. Our brains process these quantum distortions as visible distortions in space." A murmur ran through the assembled leaders. An admiral raised his hand. "Are you saying their entire military strategy relies on this cloaking technology?" Dr. Han nodded. "Based on the data we've intercepted, the Empire has spent thousands of years perfecting this technology. They use it for everything: reconnaissance, invasion, maintaining control over conquered worlds. They've never encountered a species that could see through it. And now they've found us." Someone muttered from the back of the room. "Exactly," Commander Song confirmed. "Our analysis team has been studying their ship movements. They're in complete disarray. Their entire tactical doctrine is built around being invisible. Now that advantage is gone, they don't know how to respond." Dr. Han brought up new diagrams showing the neural pathways involved in human quantum perception. "What's more, we're learning how to enhance this ability. We're developing sensors that can amplify and record these quantum distortions. Soon, we'll be able to share this capability with our allies among other species." The council chamber erupted in excited discussion. The implications were staggering. Humanity had accidentally stumbled upon the Empire's greatest weakness. "There's something else," Dr. Han said, her voice cutting through the noise. "We've detected quantum communications between their ships. They're scared. In all their recorded history, they've never faced a situation like this. Their entire strategy of galactic conquest relies on appearing unstoppable and mysterious. We've shattered that illusion." Commander Song stepped in. "We've already begun developing countermeasures. Within months, we can have a network of quantum detection systems in place. The Empire's invisible fleet will never be invisible again." The council president leaned forward. "What do you think their next move will be?" Dr. Han shared a concerned look with Commander Song before answering. "They have two choices. They can either attempt peaceful contact, acknowledging us as equals, or they can try to eliminate us before we can share our ability with other species. And which do you think they'll choose?" The president pressed. "Based on their observed behavior and intercepted communications," Commander Song replied grimly, "they're too used to being in control. They won't risk their empire crumbling. They'll try to strike before we get stronger." Dr. Han nodded. "Which is why we need to work faster. Every day we delay gives them more time to plan. We need to start manufacturing quantum detection systems immediately and reach out to other species under Imperial control." As the council debated their next steps, Dr. Han returned to studying the data streams. Somewhere in these patterns was the key to not just seeing through the Empire's deception, but perhaps ending their reign of terror altogether. Human eyes had revealed their greatest weakness. Now it was time to use that knowledge to change the galaxy forever. The Empire had spent millennia hiding in the shadows. They weren't ready for a species that could see in the dark. Emperor Kang's antennae twitched nervously as he sat on his crystalline throne in the great hall of the Imperial Palace. The massive chamber, usually filled with the quiet efficiency of imperial business, now echoed with raised voices and angry arguments. News of the human situation had spread faster than anyone could have predicted. The Emperor watched his most trusted advisors bicker like common laborers. General Yun's face had turned a dangerous shade of purple as he slammed his fist repeatedly on the ancient crystal table, sending ripples through its semi-liquid surface. "We must strike now." Yun's voice boomed through the chamber. "Every moment we delay is another moment our enemies grow stronger. The humans must be eliminated before they can spread their ability to others." Admiral Choi, always the more measured of his advisors, shook his head slowly. "You're letting fear cloud your judgment, General. These humans are unlike anything we've encountered in 12,000 years of Imperial history. A direct assault could be catastrophic." "Catastrophic?" Yun sneered. "They're primitives who barely reach their own moon. Their ships are powered by chemical rockets. Primitives who can see through our most advanced stealth technology," Choi countered. "Primitives who tracked and hailed our entire fleet within moments of its arrival. When has that ever happened before?" Emperor Kang raised a hand, and the room fell silent. His 4 eyes scanned the assembled advisors, taking in their nervous postures and fearful expressions. The Empire had faced rebellions before, but this was different. This was their worst nightmare. A species immune to their greatest advantage. "What is the status of our containment efforts?" he asked, his voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years of Imperial authority. The Minister of Information stepped forward, his datapad trembling slightly in his hands. "Not good, Your Imperial Majesty. We've intercepted communications from at least 7 subjected worlds. They know about the humans. They know our ships can be seen." "How?" Kang demanded. "The humans." The minister swallowed hard. "They've been broadcasting their discovery on all frequencies. In multiple languages, they're actively trying to reach oppressed species." General Yun's face darkened further. "You see, they're already acting against us. We must strike now while we still can." and risk turning them into martyrs. Admiral Choi countered, "If we attack and fail, and we might fail, given their abilities, every subjugated world in the Empire will rise up. We'd be fighting rebels who can see our ships everywhere we go." The Emperor's mandibles clicked in agitation. A servant quickly brought him a calming draught, which he drank without taking his eyes off the tactical display showing Earth and its defenses. "What do we know about their capabilities?" he asked. A science officer stepped forward. "The humans appear to have evolved the ability to perceive quantum displacement fields naturally. Their visual cortex processes the distortions our cloaking technology creates. We cannot modify our systems to prevent this. It would require completely rebuilding our entire fleet with new technology we haven't even invented yet." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Empire's military superiority, maintained for thousands of years, rested on technology that was suddenly obsolete. "There's more," the science officer continued reluctantly. "They're developing ways to enhance and share this ability. They're building devices that can detect our ships from vast distances. If they distribute this technology to other worlds, then the Empire falls," Kang finished quietly. Admiral Choi cleared his throat. "There might be another way, Your Majesty. The humans have not shown aggression, merely defense. Perhaps we could negotiate." "Negotiate?" General Yoon exploded. "With primitives. We are the Empire. We do not negotiate. We are an empire facing extinction if we choose wrong," Choi shot back. "Our choices are simple. We can attack and risk everything on one battle, or we can adapt and survive." Emperor Kang rose from his throne, his ceremonial robes shimmering in the crystal light. The chamber fell absolutely silent. In 10,000 years, no emperor had faced such a crisis. Their perfect system of conquest and control was unraveling because of one small planet's inhabitants and their curious eyes. "Prepare the fleet," he said finally, "but not for immediate attack. I want options. General Yoon, draw up invasion plans. Admiral Choi, prepare diplomatic initiatives. We will not rush into either path until we're certain of success." As his advisors hurried to comply, Kang turned to stare out the vast windows at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, a primitive planet of beings who could see the invisible was about to change everything. He only hoped the Empire would survive what was coming. Because deep in his heart, Emperor Kang knew that once you could see through someone's invisibility, you could never unsee it. And the galaxy was about to open its eyes. Professor Shin stood in the heart of her laboratory at the Global Defense Institute, surrounded by the gentle hum of quantum detection arrays and holographic displays. The air smelled of ozone and coffee, the twin fuels of scientific breakthrough. Her team of scientists worked tirelessly around her, each focused on different aspects of their groundbreaking project. Captain Ba walked through the sliding doors, his military uniform a stark contrast to the lab coats surrounding him. His eyes widened as he took in the latest modifications to their detection system, a sleek, cylindrical device that pulsed with a soft blue light. "Is that what I think it is?" he asked, approaching the device with barely contained excitement. Professor Shin smiled, adjusting her glasses. "The first fully functional human-made quantum field detector. We've not only figured out how to detect Imperial ships, we've improved on their own technology." She gestured to a large display showing complex wave patterns. "See these oscillations? The Empire's cloaking technology creates ripples in space-time. They assumed no organic species could detect these distortions, but human eyes evolved to see patterns others miss. And now we can enhance that ability," Captain Bai added, studying the readouts with intense interest. "Exactly." Professor Shin brought up another display, this one showing a three-dimensional map of nearby space. Dozens of test objects floated in orbit, some visible, others cloaked with their experimental technology. "Watch this." She pressed a button, and suddenly every cloaked object became visible on the display, outlined in bright green. Perfect detection, every time. No false positives, no missed signals. The captain whistled softly. How far can it reach? Current range is 2 light years and expanding. We're installing these systems on every major ship and station. Within months, humanity will have a complete detection network covering our entire solar system. Around them, the laboratory buzzed with purposeful activity. Engineers calibrated sensors, physicists ran simulations, and computer specialists refined the detection algorithms. Humanity was racing against time, knowing the Empire wouldn't stay passive forever. There's something else you should see, Professor Shin said, leading Captain Ba to a sealed chamber at the back of the lab. Inside, behind thick protective glass, sat what looked like a miniature version of an Imperial ship's cloaking device. Is that? The captain's voice trailed off in amazement. Our own cloaking technology, she confirmed. But with a crucial difference. We've modified it to work with human perception rather than against it. Our ships can now become invisible to Imperial sensors while remaining visible to human eyes. Captain Ba's face broke into a broad grin. You've turned their greatest weapon into our advantage. The Empire spent millennia perfecting their stealth technology, Professor Shin explained, bringing up technical specifications on a nearby screen. But they built it on a flawed assumption that quantum displacement fields were impossible for organic life to detect. They never considered that evolution might find a way. She pointed to a diagram of the human brain. Our ability to see their ships isn't just about our eyes. It's about how our brains process visual information. Earth's unique conditions, our magnetic field, our sun's radiation, even our atmosphere, all contributed to developing this capability. And now we're enhancing it, the captain added, understanding dawning in his eyes. The first detection systems are already being installed on ships worldwide. Professor Shin confirmed. We're prioritizing defensive installations and early warning networks. Within weeks, the Empire won't be able to move a single ship near Earth without us knowing about it. She paused, her expression growing serious. But we need to be prepared. The Empire won't accept this situation. They'll either try to destroy us or find a way to adapt their technology. Captain Ba nodded grimly. That's why we need to work faster. How soon can we begin sharing this technology with other species? We've already prepared information packets for transmission, Professor Shin said, pulling up another display. Simple instructions any moderately advanced civilization can follow to build their own detection systems. Once we start broadcasting, the Empire's advantage will disappear across the galaxy. The captain studied the technical diagrams thoughtfully. They won't just lose their military advantage. They'll lose the fear they've used to control others. Every subjected species will suddenly be able to see their oppressors. Exactly, Professor Shin agreed. We're not just developing technology. We're creating hope. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Empire is vulnerable. She turned to look out the laboratory's window at the night sky above. Somewhere up there, Imperial ships still lurked, thinking themselves hidden. But humanity could see them now, and soon, everyone else would too. The Empire had ruled through invisibility and fear for millennia, but they had never faced a species that could see through their deception. Now, humanity wasn't just rising to defend itself, it was preparing to change the balance of power across the galaxy. As Professor Shin returned to her work, she couldn't help but smile. The Empire's greatest strength had become their greatest weakness, all because they never imagined a species could evolve to see the invisible. Humanity's rise was just beginning, and the stars themselves would never be the same. Ko's hands trembled as he downloaded the encrypted data package from Earth. His underground bunker on Nova Terra was dimly lit to avoid detection, but his eyes had long since adapted to the darkness. Around him, fellow resistance members huddled close, their breath visible in the cool air as they watched the progress bar inch forward. "Is it really from Earth?" whispered his second-in-command, Lynn, her scaled skin reflecting the faint blue light from the computer screen. "The planet that can see Imperial ships." Cho nodded, not trusting himself to speak yet. For 3 generations, his people had lived under the Empire's brutal rule. The Imperials would appear from nowhere in their invisible ships, crushing any hint of rebellion before it could begin. But now, everything was about to change. The download completed with a soft chime. Cho's claws clicked against the keyboard as he began decrypting the files using the key provided by their Earth contacts. Diagrams, technical specifications, and construction plans filled the screen. "It's real," he breathed, eyes widening as he absorbed the information. The humans, they've done it. They've not only figured out how to see Imperial ships, they created devices that can give anyone that ability. Lynn leaned closer, her scientist's mind already analyzing the schematics. "These components, we can build this with materials we already have. The Empire's technology restrictions actually work in our favor. They never restricted quantum sensor parts because they thought no one could use them this way." Cho smiled for the first time in what felt like years. "How long to build our first detector?" 3 days, Lynn replied confidently. "Maybe less if we can get help from the physics department at the university. Most of them are secret sympathizers anyway." The resistance leader stood up, addressing the small group gathered in the bunker. "Send word through the underground network. Tell every cell on every continent, hope is coming. But we have to work fast and stay quiet. The Empire can't know what we're doing until it's too late." Over the next week, Novaterra's resistance movement worked in absolute secrecy. University professors borrowed equipment for research projects. Factory workers slipped key components into their pockets during shifts. Engineers worked through the nights in hidden workshops. The first successful test came 8 days after receiving the Earth package. In an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the capital city, Cho and his core team activated their prototype detector. The device hummed to life, its display showing a clear view of local space. "There," Lynn pointed at the screen, her voice tight with excitement. "3 Imperial patrol ships in high orbit. We can see them. We can finally see them." Tears rolled down Cho's face as he stared at the display. For the first time, they could track the movements of their oppressors. The Empire's invisible eyes were no longer invisible. But they didn't stop there. The resistance movement had spent decades building secret communication networks between subjugated worlds. Now those same networks carried Earth's gift across the stars. The technical plans spread from planet to planet, passed through encrypted channels, and hand-carried by trusted couriers. On the desert world of Kepler, freedom fighters built detectors into ancient temple walls. In the underwater cities of Aquarius Prime, scientists incorporated the technology into their sonar networks. Each world adapted the human designs to their own needs and capabilities. Back on Novaterra, Cho received the first reports of successful implementations from other worlds. His heart swelled with each confirmation. The Empire's power had always relied on fear and mystery, the terror of never knowing when they were washing. That power was evaporating like morning dew under a rising sun. "The Empire's ships are moving erratically," Lynn reported one morning, studying their now extensive detection network. "They know something's wrong, but they haven't figured out what yet. Their patrol patterns are becoming desperate." Cho nodded grimly. "They're used to being gods, appearing and disappearing at will. Now they're learning what it feels like to be watched." The resistance leader sent a coded message back to Earth, confirming their success and thanking humanity for their help. The response came quickly. "Stay hidden. Keep building. The Empire will strike soon, but they'll find a very different galaxy waiting for them." As Cho watched his people work, installing detection devices in every major city and teaching others how to build them, he felt something he hadn't experienced since childhood: genuine hope. The Empire had ruled through invisibility for 12,000 years, but they had never faced a galaxy that could see through their deception. The revolution wouldn't come with massive battles or dramatic confrontations, at least not yet. Instead, it was spreading silently, one detector at a time, one world at a time. Every day, another species gained the ability to see their oppressors. Every day, the Empire's grip loosened a little more. What do you think they'll do when they finally realize what's happening? Lin asked one evening as they reviewed reports from other worlds. Cho looked up at the night sky through their bunker's small window. Somewhere up there, Imperial ships still patrolled, still thinking themselves invisible. But now millions of eyes could see them, track them, understand them. They'll do what tyrants always do when their power starts to crumble, he replied softly. They'll lash out. But this time, we'll be ready. This time, we can see them coming. The seeds of revolution were sprouting across the galaxy, nourished by human ingenuity and watered with the tears of countless oppressed species. The Empire's long night of invisible terror was coming to an end, and a new dawn was breaking across the stars. Grand Fleet Commander Nam stood rigid on the bridge of his flagship, the Emperor's Wrath, as 5,000 Imperial warships emerged from hyperspace around Earth. His mandibles clicked with anticipation. This would be the largest military operation in Imperial history. They would crush these upstart humans before their ability to see through Imperial stealth could spread further. The massive fleet appeared in perfect formation, their supposedly invisible ships arranged in the Imperial hammer pattern. Nam allowed himself a moment of pride. Even if the humans could see them, surely they would be overwhelmed by such an enormous show of force. That pride lasted exactly 3 seconds. Sir, his sensor officer's voice cracked with alarm. We have multiple contacts. Everywhere, human ships were waiting for us. Nam's compound eyes widened as the tactical display updated. Human vessels had anticipated their arrival points perfectly. Imperial ships found themselves surrounded, with human cruisers and destroyers positioned at every strategic location. Impossible, Nam whispered, but the evidence was right there on his screens. The humans hadn't just detected their arrival. They had predicted it with terrifying accuracy. All ships, battle formations, he ordered, trying to keep the fear from his voice. Activate secondary cloaking systems. Before his orders could be carried out, every communication channel on every Imperial ship suddenly came alive with a calm, steady voice speaking perfect Imperial standard. This is Admiral Lee of the Earth Defense Force, the voice announced. Your entire fleet is visible to every ship and station in the system. We've been tracking your approach vector for the past week. Stand down, and let's end this without bloodshed. Nam's hands gripped his command chair tightly. How had they known? The Empire's attack plans had been encrypted with their most sophisticated codes. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're detecting quantum detection arrays on every human vessel. They're not just seeing us, they're targeting us with perfect precision. The tactical display told a devastating story. Human ships had positioned themselves in interlocking fields of fire. Any attempt to attack would result in catastrophic losses for the Imperial fleet. Launch fighters, Nam ordered desperately. All ships begin evasive maneuvers. But as his orders went out, something even more terrifying happened. Human ships began to vanish from their sensors, only to reappear in different positions. The humans had somehow adapted Imperial cloaking technology for their own use. They've copied our technology, his science officer said in disbelief. But they can still see each other. Their ships are only invisible to our sensors. Admiral Lee's voice came again. Commander Nam, look at your tactical display. Really look at it. You're not just surrounded. You're trapped. We've had months to prepare for this moment. Every asteroid, every orbital station, every piece of space debris in this system has been equipped with quantum detection systems and defensive weapons. Nam felt the cold hand of defeat grip his hearts. His mighty fleet, the largest ever assembled, had flown straight into a perfectly prepared trap. But Imperial doctrine demanded he fight to the last ship. All vessels, open fire. He began, but a new voice cut through the command channel. This is Captain Kim of the EDS Humanity. We just transmitted the specifications for our detection systems to every inhabited world in the Empire. As we speak, your subjects are gaining the ability to see through your deception. Stand down, Commander Nam. Don't throw away 5,000 ships and crews for a lost cause. Nam's officers looked to him, waiting for orders. The Imperial fleet hung in space, surrounded by human vessels that could track their every move. But it wasn't just the tactical situation that froze him. It was the implications. If what the humans said was true, the Empire's age of invisible dominance was over. "Sir," his second-in-command whispered, "we should consider their offer. The Empire can't afford to lose this many ships, especially now." Nam closed his eyes. 12,000 years of Imperial doctrine warred with the reality before him. They had come to crush a primitive world, only to find themselves outmaneuvered by an enemy that had turned their greatest strength into a weakness. "This is Commander Nam," he finally broadcast. "To all Imperial vessels, stand down. Power down weapons. The humans have won this day." As the Imperial fleet began powering down their systems, Admiral Lee's voice came one final time. "A wise decision, Commander. Now, shall we discuss the future? A future where no species needs to live in fear of invisible ships appearing above their worlds." Nam looked out at the stars, seeing human ships decloaking all around his fleet. They had come to end a threat to Imperial power, only to discover that their power had already ended. The age of Imperial invisibility was over, brought down not by superior weapons or tactics, but by a species that could simply see through their greatest deception. The last gambit of the Empire had failed, and with it, 12,000 years of dominance came to an end, not with a massive battle, but with the simple act of being seen. Ambassador Park stood at the crystal podium in the newly constructed Galactic Council chambers on Luna, Earth's moon. Through the vast transparent dome above, both Earth and stars shone brilliantly. Representatives from 30 former Imperial worlds filled the circular chamber, their diverse forms a testament to the galaxy's rich variety of life. The Treaty of Sol lay before him, its quantum-encoded pages glowing softly. 1 year ago, these same species had lived in terror of invisible ships appearing above their worlds. Now they sat as equals, ready to forge a new path forward. "The treaty is simple," Park announced, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's perfect acoustics. "No more invisible ships, no more surprise attacks, no more rule through fear. From this day forward, all spacefaring vessels must be visible and accountable to all." In the front row, Dr. Han watched with quiet pride. Her team's breakthrough had sparked this revolution, but what followed had exceeded everyone's expectations. The Interspecies Scientific Coalition she now led had brought together minds from across the galaxy, all working to build something new from the ashes of empire. Former Imperial scientists worked alongside their one-time subjects, sharing knowledge that had been hoarded for millennia. The same quantum technology that had once hidden ships now powered new communications networks, linking worlds that had been kept isolated by Imperial decree. Emperor Kang sat in the chamber as well, though no longer wearing his Imperial regalia. His simple diplomat's robes marked him as just another representative. He watched as, one by one, representatives approached the podium to sign the treaty. The Aquarian Confederation signs in good faith, announced the water-breathing ambassador, pressing her webbed hand to the quantum scanner. The free worlds of Kepler add their mark, declared another, their crystalline form shimmering as they approved the document. On Novaterra, Resistance leader Cho, now Governor Cho, watched the proceedings via quantum broadcast. His people had helped spread Earth's detection technology across the galaxy. Now they were helping build something greater, a civilization based on transparency and cooperation. Dr. Han approached the podium to present the coalition's latest breakthrough. "We've developed something new," she explained, activating a holographic display. "A ship identification system that makes every vessel uniquely visible to all observers. No more hiding, but also no more fear of the unknown. Every ship broadcasts its identity, purpose, and destination." Ambassador Park nodded in approval. The galaxy was changing faster than anyone had imagined possible. The Empire's fall had released centuries of suppressed innovation and cooperation. Species that had been kept apart by imperial decree were discovering they had more in common than they'd known. When it was his turn, former Emperor Kang rose slowly and walked to the podium. The chamber fell silent. He looked out at the assembled representatives, beings his empire had once ruled through fear and deception. "I sign this not as emperor, but as a citizen of the galaxy," he said quietly. "For 12,000 years, we believed power came from being unseen, from striking from shadows. We were wrong. True power lies in being willing to stand visible before all, to be seen and known and understood." As Kang pressed his hand to the scanner, completing his abdication and his world's commitment to the new treaty, Dr. Han turned to look out the dome at Earth glowing above. Their world's unique gift, the ability to see what others couldn't, had changed the galaxy. But it wasn't just about seeing ships. It was about seeing the possibility of a different way of living. Ambassador Park raised his hands as the last signature was recorded. "The Treaty of Sol is now in effect," he announced. "Let this mark the beginning of a new age, one of transparency, cooperation, and mutual understanding." Outside the chamber, ships from dozens of worlds hung visible in Luna's orbit. Their running lights painted streaks of color across space, each proudly displaying its identity and origin. No more invisible fleets, no more terror from above, just the honest light of thousands of worlds, finally free to see and be seen. As the chamber erupted in celebration, Dr. Han's team was already planning their next project. The quantum technology that had once hidden ships was being repurposed to link minds and hearts across the galaxy. The age of deception was over, replaced by an age of discovery. The empire that had ruled through invisibility had been undone by humanity's simple ability to see what no one else could. But in the end, the greatest change wasn't in the technology or the treaties. It was in the understanding that true strength comes not from hiding in darkness, but from standing together in the light.